They will make sure that it gets sent over to you. So here we go in three, two, one, boom. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Toolbox Tuesday. Today, super excited to bring in one of our valued partners that is helping you to close more business. We're talking about Valor PayTech, and today, my special guest is Gene Schenberg. Gene, good afternoon to you, my friend.
Good afternoon to you as well, or good
Ah,
morning, depending on where you're located.
depending on where you're looking. Is it morning or afternoon for you, Gene?
It's just turned afternoon for me. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
There we go. So it just turned afternoon for you. And of course, all of us are still working through the whole daylight savings time that happened earlier this week. But I promise you, friends, we are going to get through it. So, Gene, I am super excited that you made the time to join us here today. Valor Paytech, I mean, let's talk about it. You guys have been around since about 2019 or so. So within the past 6 years, you guys have made quite a name for yourself. For those of people in our audience that may not be familiar with Valor Paytech, maybe they haven't presented some of your technology to some of their merchants as of yet. On a very high level, how would you describe Valor Paytech, Gene?
Ooh, high level. Uh,
Or you can go into detail if you would
yeah,
like. I'll leave it up to you.
let's start with medium level. Instead of the 30,000 foot,
You
let's
got it.
maybe drop to 10. So I like to describe Valor Paytech using sort of two analogies. The first one is we're the only platform in the market that was developed with 100% being in the cloud. So when you think of our terminals, they're dumb smart terminals or smart dumb terminals, depending on how you think about it. They literally are interacting with the cloud, and the mid is in the cloud. So transactions that are completed, the terminals literally just tokenize and encrypt the cards, send the information to the cloud. Cloud does the processing and sends the result back to the screen on the terminal. Once the transaction is complete and it's in the cloud, it's good to go. So we don't ever lose batches. If a transaction completes in Valor, the batch never gets lost. So that solves for one of the major problems that plague certain parts of this industry. The other thing is that when we look at a transaction, whether it's card present, card not present, e-com, POS, shopping cart, etc., those are just different ways to interact with the mid in the cloud. So if you have a mid set up with a traditional processing, everything that touches that mid and the list I described processes with traditional processing. If you have a dual pricing or a cash differential setup on an account and the mid is set up that way in the cloud, all the things that touch that mid in the cloud behave the same way. The merchant also only has to log into one place to see all of their transactions. So traditionally, prior to Valor, and today for some accounts that you might be boarding, the merchant, if they get a chargeback request, might log into their terminal system to look for it there, their shopping cart, their point of sale solution, their auth.net or NMI or virtual terminal solution, hunting for a transaction for a chargeback. Where in the Valor ecosystem, it's all under one roof. So they only have one place to log in to do everything. So the at 15,000 feet or maybe a little lower, the way I look at Valor is that it solves for a ton of problems that plague merchants in the industry today. It makes merchants more efficient. It solves a lot of their headaches and problems and allows you as the salesperson to spend your time focusing on how to dig deeper into that merchant's business by adding things to the account that make them more traction for you, yet focusing on the good things in processing and not having to deal with the bad things in processing that take you away from sales. The last thing is that as things change over time, and those of you that have been in the industry for a little while, you know, a couple of years ago, Visa changed the cash discount rules and percentages. In the Valor ecosystem, we push one button, all the terminals get updated overnight automatically. With a traditional terminal, each of those have to be manually downloaded one at a time. And you have to be sure the batch is closed first before you do it, or you risk losing a batch. So, long answer, but I wanted to try to give you a complete answer because it covers a lot of different things that are within the Valor system.
And I appreciate the fact that you went into that much detail. Historically, I mean, I have worked with Valor, and for the most part, what I like about Valor is that the differentiator. It's not just the terminal that sits on the counter. I mean, you guys are all encompassing. Some of the stuff that you mentioned, you were talking about e-commerce, talking about that virtual payment environment. And for the most part, you guys did change the game. in my opinion, just because in this, the 6 years that you've been in business, you just kind of looked at how things are being done on that very traditional level, where sometimes even that process is cumbersome. You mentioned it yourself. You were saying that you're making it easier for the merchants, so this way they're logging into one portal, they can easily identify those transactions, they can take a look into chargebacks and everything else. Before we continue on, you, the sales agent, you know this is all about you, right? Of course you do. So one of the things that I want to make sure that we're clear on, if you have questions, at some point in time, we are going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to read your questions up in the chat. I am actively keeping an eye on that. And we're also going to take breaks here and there so that you can come off mute and you can ask questions to Gene while we've got him on the call. So, Gene, super excited that you did make it here today. That overview that you just gave at the very beginning, absolutely fantastic. Um, I mean, obviously, with the cloud-based piece that you talked about, that's a huge, huge piece of what makes Valor special. But in your opinion, what else would you say kind of separates you from the competition? So this way we can just kind of give that as an idea to our agents on the call.
Sure. So I think one of the other things to keep in mind, and this would be the other way I look at Valor, is that I look at Valor almost also like a box of Legos. Each piece represents another thing in the Valor ecosystem. And as a sales agent, it's important to know that you have the ability to grow with that merchant as that merchant's needs change. You can stick another Lego on the project or another thing. A pizza parlor who just sells pizza in their mom and pop brick and mortar restaurant might want a countertop terminal, and we have a variety of countertop terminals to choose from. And then you can add a pin pad for the customer facing, for again cash discount or pin debit or whatever you want to do. Let's say that business decides later that they want to do a curbside pickup or they want to do pay at the table. You can add a Valor cordless terminal to that ecosystem. Then let's say they want to do a shopping cart. They want to be able to do mail order. They're going to ship their pizzas around the country, and you want to add a WooCommerce or Shopify or Magento or any of the shopping carts we support. You just add that on, and then maybe they want to do they want to be able to do sales on their website. So then you add an e-com solution from there as well. As that business grows, Valor continues to offer you a plethora of features that you can bolt on and add. And each time you do that, it makes it more difficult for that merchant to leave you as well. So I'm not suggesting that you trick the merchant, but as that merchant's needs grow and you've added all of these things to their platform, somebody else can't just come in and say, "Hey, I've got this shiny new terminal and a few extra basis points, switch to me." Then they have to go, "Wait a minute, I have carry out, I have pay at the table, I have curbside pickup, I have a shopping cart." It becomes harder for that agent to be able to compete and take that business away. So anytime you can sell a system that can grow with the merchant and you solve for attrition, that helps you in your book of business as well. So last point I'll make on this is, let's just say for the sake of argument that your average book of business has 10% attrition. I realize that that's probably close to the average. I expect because of the quality of your company, your percentage is lower, but let's just use 10% as a benchmark. If your attrition is 10% in your book, you have to sell 10% more every year just to keep your income flat. If you can cut that attrition to 5% and you still do 10% growth, you're now growing your book 5% every year as opposed to just staying even. So for every percentage point you can lower your attrition, that's a percentage point that you can grow your book simply by doing the same amount of effort without actually doing any extra effort. And obviously, if you do extra effort, you're going to grow your book as well.
Gene, some of the stuff that I wrote down, I mean, you are spot on, and I'm looking at it from a positioning point of view for any sales agent that goes out there. These are part of the qualifying questions when they're talking to them about their business. To your point, Gene, yeah, I mean, there's, hundreds of other reps at other companies that just go in there. They're just looking for that quick sale, get the terminal on the counter. They don't even put thought into what they're delivering to the merchant. But what I'm hearing from you is with Valor, this is an opportunity for all of our sales agents to kind of dig a little bit deeper, help to further qualify their business, maybe talk to the business owner about future plans. Do you plan on doing e-commerce? Do you have a need for a virtual terminal environment? So what I'm hearing from you, Gene, is that this is a great opportunity for each and every single sales agent whenever they're talking with a merchant to do a little bit more discovery. So this way they can just kind of relay to the merchant, hey, you know what? I got a solution that's going to grow with your business. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Gene?
No, I think that's a absolutely perfect way to go into it. I mean, the way I look at it, and this is my own personal sales philosophy, um, which I has uh, carried me well, at least up to this point in my career, is that two things. One, never accept a no from someone who isn't empowered to give you a yes. That's just simply making sure you're talking to the decision maker in the business and not the minimum wage clerk when you're going in. But the other one is no doesn't mean no. No just means I haven't figured out how to get to yes yet. And one of the things that Valor helps you with is how to get to yes. You might go in and say, I've got this great dual pricing program or cash differential or surcharge, whatever the program is that you're offering. And I apologize, I don't know exactly what Pay Compass calls their version of that program. But when you go in and offer that, they might say, well, I already have one of those. I don't need that. Well, then you can go in and say, well, wait a minute. What about have you ever lost a batch? What do you do when the power goes out? Do you have any needs to grow your business into needing a shopping cart or pay at the table? Or do you know with our system, we open up these options for you? Maybe you never considered curbside pickup, but now that you have our system in place, you have the ability to do curbside pickup. More importantly, if you're using the text receipts instead of paper receipts, and you're collecting the mobile numbers of your customers when you are making your sales, you can also use the Valor system to do text-based marketing or text messaging to your customers. Maybe if you're in an area, I'm just making this up, that's hurricane prone or where you have a lot of outages or weather related issues, you know, how great would it be to be able to send a text message to all your customers and say, due to the recent, water main break, the kitchen's closed. Please click this link to place your online order for curbside pickup. Whatever situation you have, you give that merchant the ability to think outside of their proverbial box and also help them grow their business. So not only are you being a good steward of the business by offering them a solution, you're also showing that you care about their business and you can actually help them as they grow and think about new things to make their business better. And that's, when you can do those kinds of things, those are customers for life.
Gene, I mean, not only are you going to drop knowledge on us today regarding Valor and all of its offerings, but I mean, just from a sales perspective, the prospecting, asking those questions to dig into the pain points, a couple of that I had written down that you said. What do you do when the power goes out? Have you ever lost a batch? If you don't mind, just because I'm kind of digging some of the qualifying questions that you're asking, what would be some other good qualifying questions that could help all of our sales agents to identify, aha, this is a great fit for Valor? What would you say?
Wow, there's so many things immediately come to
I know there's
mind.
so many, but just if you
Um,
could think of a couple off the top of your
sure.
head, that would be
So,
cool.
so some of the things that we have in our toolbox, for lack of a better word, and things that may not be commonly known, is that all of our terminals have the ability to support dual mid. Dual mid is different than multi mid, which we also support, by the way. But dual mid allows you to load I'll just call it cash discount to keep it clean and not go through each iteration of what you might call it. But you could load a cash discount mid and a traditional mid in the same terminal. So you have a lot of businesses with high ticket items that have large charges and recurring customers who don't want to pay that 4% fee. And in a traditional situation, the merchant has the ability either to charge the 4% or eat the 4% if they don't pass it on. In the Valor ecosystem, you can load a dual mid and a traditional mid in the terminal. And if the customer refuses to pay it, or you as the merchant decide you want to bypass it because this is a big customer, regular customer, whatever it is, you can actually have the terminal configured where you can press a bypass button, which can be password protected, so not everybody can do it. And it'll drop to a traditional mid and process at the traditional rate. So the merchant's not eating 4%. It might be interchange plus 5 or whatever they've boarded the traditional account for. Understanding their business and knowing whether that's something that they might want to do is a way to be able to do that. Multi-bin is another great one. Um, I don't know what the category is. It's not service per se, but nail salons and hair salons and places where you have multiple people sharing a single terminal. Um, seeing that and going into a salon, asking how they solve for that problem. the salesperson, not the salesperson, the owner might say, yeah, it's a pain. I have to go through at the end of the night and I have to divide up all the transactions. People have to put in codes. It's a nightmare to keep track of those things. Well, Valor has that capability with multi-merchant. We also have detailed tip reporting. If it's a restaurant, you can set up tip reporting as well. So there's just for every feature that we have, let me back up a second. We adopt a crawl, walk, run analogy at Valor. We launch a terminal 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, with a bare bone set of features. I see Rob's on here. I know Justin's been involved since the very beginning. Um, Rob might say, "Hey, Gene, this is great, but your terminal doesn't do this," and I could go close X amount of deals if that feature was built into the system. Well, that's how we look at our roadmap, and that's how we prioritize the things that we add to the Valor ecosystem. If you have a huge opportunity and Valor's missing a feature, push that up through the management chain, give us a chance to add that feature so you can go get that sale and close that deal. That's how our system's grown. So every feature we have is there because somebody like you said, I need it to close a deal. And we continue to evolve and grow in that respect. I know I didn't answer all of your question, but I know I answered some of it and then sort of tangentially added another point in there.
But that's absolutely fine. I appreciate everything that you did share. I will say that, historically, for as long as I've worked with Valor, that's always been one of the biggest things that I've always gravitated towards is the fact that you're not only listening to the end users, you're listening to sales agents, because that's how you've actually grown the company since its inception. It's having that grassroots, listening to what the people are saying to help you to develop a better product so that it helps merchants to run their businesses effectively, and most importantly, it helps our sales agents to get paid. Gene, you shared a couple of, like a couple of examples, obviously restaurant, retail. You talked about salons where you're talking about like the multi-mids, where, the tip reporting, maybe setting up a device at a salon so that's where they can get their payments off to, the different stylists and everything else. Let's jump into this. Let's talk about, hey team, here's what's a good fit for Valor. And I'm sure you might have one or two examples. What would you say is maybe not a good fit for Valor? What would you say on that, Gene?
Ooh, what's not a good fit for Valor?
That I know
Um,
that's probably the hardest question you're going to get all day, Gene. I'm just put it
yeah,
out there.
yeah. So I'm gonna go back to my previous answer and say that anything that's not a good fit for Valor is only a not a good fit temporarily until we figure out what is not a good fit, how to solve for it, and make it a good fit. So using that as an example, I know that there's some third-party products out there that we don't currently partner with that we're in the process of looking to partner with. Somebody who has a retail environment where they've got appointment scheduling and they'd like to be able to do that in the same portal with the terminal. We don't have a solution for that today. So if you're going into a health club and you're offering a processing and they say, well, I have to be able to schedule appointments in the same system, we don't have an app for that yet. Another one might be somebody says, well, I use this tax software and it automatically takes care of my state sales tax. So I don't have to worry about my sales tax. It's just handled by that third party. Um, we don't have a solution for that yet. So if you're going into a merchant who has some what I will call ancillary add-on features, we don't have a lot of those yet. So you're not going to be able to go in and apples to apples be able to close that deal if they're plugged into a lot of third party outside apps. So that's probably the most obvious place where I've run into problems. Um, but I say that to say we're aware of those problems and we're working with lots of companies to add lots of those third party apps into our system. So while it's a problem today, I don't expect it to be a problem, if we're having this same conversation in 6 or 9 months.
So, Gene, would you say that it's safe to say this, that as far as our sales agents looking for opportunities, look for opportunities where the merchant needs a solution to pretty much just help to facilitate the payments, whether it's in person, whether it's card not present, providing, different options as far as cash discount or surcharging, what have you. But to your point, those ancillary things, the scheduling, tying into accounting software, not there yet. So pretty
Right.
much,
Well, Well,
Go ahead.
QuickBooks is there. QuickBooks is
Okay.
there, but we don't have
Okay.
other accounting packages. So anything that might be more vertically integrated, like a doctor patient specific billing product. But QuickBooks integration is there today. It's very easy to integrate with QuickBooks Online. As many of you know, QuickBooks Desktop is going away, so online will be their solution, and they're sunsetting everything that's not QuickBooks Online. But real simple. If you have it connected and you're in the virtual terminal, you create an invoice in the virtual terminal, it's going to automatically add the invoice to QuickBooks. If you're in QuickBooks and you're sending out an invoice for electronic payment, it's automatically going to send that through the Valor ecosystem. So that payment link goes back through your processing through Valor back into QuickBooks. So we do have QuickBooks, but there are some verticals that we don't have. The other thing too
Sure.
is, and I know that this is really hard because it's hard to know what to ask when you don't know what you don't know. And that is, for example, the health club example I gave earlier. One of the things that came to mind is that we have a product module within Valor, and there's no extra charge for this. It's just part of the Valor ecosystem called the Vault. And what the Vault allows you to do is capture any card that's presented in the Valor ecosystem. And keep in mind, Valor just looks at credit cards as credit cards, card present, not present POS, all across the board. Those are just cards coming into the ecosystem. We vault those cards and they can be called up later for additional processing. Whether you have to do a tip adjust after a batch is closed, you can call the card up and you can do tip adjust. But more specifically, one of the use cases that's come up is health clubs, and I sort of trigger that in my own mind. You can have a health club that say they're going to do a 1 week trial at our new health club for $10, and somebody goes in and they swipe their card and they get their 1 week membership. The week membership's over. The following week, somebody calls them from sales and says, "Hey, how'd you like the club? We're running a special right now. How would you like to sign up for an annual membership?" And they say yes. You can call that card up from the vault and convert that into a recurring payment without having to have the customer come back in. You can do the same thing with refunds and other things. When the batch is open, you can void or adjust a transaction. When a batch is closed, you can process a refund, or even an additional charge when the card's vaulted, which again, it's another tool in the toolbox that helps you close a sale or helps you win an opportunity. So as hard as it is for me to say, one of the things that helps you to be able to sell Valor is just to understand the top level features that it has. So you know when you go into a situation, what tools you have in your toolbox to be able to satisfy that merchant's needs to be able to get that sale done. I think the one most frustrating thing would be that you lose a sale only to come back on a following week and see a competitor in there, and the solution they've offered is something Valor had. You just didn't know we didn't have it to be able to close the sale when you were in there the first time.
Um, Gene, for the most part, it's like I feel like I've thrown a couple curveballs at you, but I got to tell you, man, you're a champ because not only are you talking about everything that Valor can do, but you're dropping knowledge on our sales team as far as how to approach some of these opportunities. So everything that you're sharing, much appreciated. You, the audience, guess what? You've been sitting there for just a little bit. It's time to actually hear from you. We're going to pause for a little bit. Let's take your questions. You can either come off mute, or if you would like, you can put your questions in the chat. More than happy to get those in front of Gene. So let's pause for a bit. Come off mute. Let's get your questions.
Hey Gene, this is Shirag. I got a quick question. I have an auto body shop owner who, yeah, I heard you talking dual mid here. You know, one being a cash discount mid, one being a non-cash discount mid. Um, you guys can get those set up relatively quickly and easily, right? I'm
The
assuming.
short answer is yes, but the longer answer is that your team's empowered to do that at the time of deployment.
Oh,
So you
perfect.
would you would simply just, I'm assuming you'd have two applications for the two different mids, or however you would do that. I would talk to your internal team, but they absolutely can build those files today. And if they haven't built one in a while and they want a refresher, all they have to do is reach out to us, and we'll be happy to schedule a refresher training on how to build files a specific way if they don't remember or it's been a while since they've done one.
No, I appreciate it. In fact, I'm going to stop by a merchant on my way home today. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. And before I forget, we aren't where we are today without people like you in the field. There's just no, if people aren't putting Valors out in the field, I have nothing to do. So thank you for your support of Valor and promoting Valor and helping Valor be as successful it is. So I just wanted, before I forget, I wanted to make sure that I thank you as well.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chirag. I see somebody else came off mute. If they would like to get their question out there, go right ahead. Or maybe not. We'll ask one more time. Any questions? Come off mute. Love to get them in front of Gene.
Well, either you're doing an excellent job as the interviewer to get all the questions asked, and I've been giving you bigger answers than you're asking. So maybe we've just been doing a pretty good job. So,
I've always said historically, every time the crowd goes quiet, it feeds my ego because I go, oh my God, you must be killing it. They have no questions. My God. Gene, we're doing great.
awesome, awesome.
But to you, the audience, this is all about you. So we are going to pause again a little bit later on, and we are going to take questions from you. You can put them in the chat. You can come off mute a little bit later on. Gene, one of the things I'm super excited about when you and I were putting this session together for today, you and I talked about the roadmap. You got some stuff that's going to be coming up fairly, and look at that, right on the spot. Gene, what do you want to show our audience today?
Well, so this is one of our newest terminals. This is the VP800. And for those of you that haven't seen it, it looks vaguely familiar if you've been in the industry for a while. And it's not from that other company. This is brand new and from us. You'll see I'm going to try to do this, although I'm probably a postage stamp size on your screen, but
No, it's actually
you
a
can
good size
see
for the
that
screen.
this
Yep.
size is an 8-inch merchant-facing screen. There's a 5-inch customer-facing screen. This is an Android terminal. And one of the nice things about our Android terminals is if you touch the shopping cart button here at the bottom, I'm going to flip this around, you'll see that we have light POS and light inventory. So all of our Android terminals carry light POS and light inventory, which is really for itemized receipts and minimal inventory. It's not a full-blown POS. If you use the VP800 communication cradle, it supports a cash drawer, so you can use it as a light POS. What makes it particularly nice is that on this side of the screen, if I'm going to add an item to the shopping cart, say I'm at a food truck or a farmer's market, and I have a customer who wants a Mountain Dew and a ham sandwich, you'll see that on this side of the screen, I'm hoping you can see it. It's actually building
Yes.
the receipt with the dual pricing cash and card right on the screen. So it's just a really nice feature that sets the terminal apart. We don't charge any extra for that. It's just part of the Valor system, and it's available on all of our Android terminals. Couple other things that I would mention is that ACH is coming. We will be showing that. Let me back up a second. The Electronic Transactions Association Transact annual meeting is the first week of April. For those of you that don't know, it's kind of the Super Bowl of our industry. And all of the companies that are in this space typically attend, many exhibit, and we have a lot of features that we're teeing up to announce and show at the beginning of April. So roughly in 3 weeks, some of these things that I'm going to tell you about aren't live today, but they will be next month. ACH is one of them. That'll give you a true cash discount opportunity through the virtual terminal because you'll be able to take a card or an ACH payment. Fleet is also coming, which is WEX and Voyager. That's going to be on the VL550. And because it's an Android terminal, that particular VL550 requires an attachment for a PIN pad, like in a gas station or a convenience store. But we'll be announcing a new countertop Android terminal that's a wired terminal that will take a PIN pad natively. That'll be available next month as well. But you'll be able to go into convenience stores and quickie marts and gas stations and things like that that need WEX and Voyager support. Another one which we've been asked about regularly is a store and forward feature. What happens if the power goes out? What happens if the internet goes down? And even though we're cloud-based, the terminals themselves will have the ability to store those transactions in the terminal. And as soon as the cloud comes back up, for whatever reason it's down, those transactions will automatically sync with the cloud, and those will process. Obviously, the downside of offline transactions in store and forward is that if the card was frauded out or the transaction would have been rejected, you're not going to know that until the terminal syncs. But that happens on all terminals across all industries. That's not a Valor specific thing in any way, shape, or form. So that's another thing that's coming. I'll pause again to give you a chance to jump in here if you have any
Yeah.
more questions or comments.
Yeah, a matter of fact, why don't we open it up to the audience because you did throw out some really good stuff that's going to be coming fairly soon here. So that ACH coming soon, the ability to do fleet coming soon, and the ability to do store and forward. Audience, tell you what, this is really good as far as these features coming out. Gene, you said the time frame, month of April, next month, all three of these?
Yes, store and forward is actually available now. It's defaulted to off across all terminals, but your back office can turn that on for any merchants that need that functionality, and the risk profile, et cetera, allows them to be able to do that. So you may have your risk and underwriting department may say we will do that, but we'll only do it for transactions up to a certain amount of money. And if that's the case, then obviously you can't turn it on across the entire platform. So it's turned off by default, but your back office can turn it on as needed for businesses that require that functionality. That's available today. Fleet, and ACH are next month.
Fleet and ACH are next month.
One other feature, sorry to
Go ahead,
interrupt.
Gene.
One other
No, go
feature
ahead.
that's available right now, which is also brand new, and that's in the mobile app. And I don't think people realize that with the Valor platform, you get a free mobile app. And I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but I'm going to hold my phone up here and you can see transactions here. And if I could load my portal, you'd see those same transactions. Um, I can do e-invoicing and virtual terminal transactions manually here with the virtual terminal turned on. It's a great fallback position for any business that has frequent power outages to be able to run transaction on their cell phone if they can't use the terminal. One of the nice things, though, is if I go in here and I go to set an e-invoice, the brand new feature is here at the bottom. It's hard to see, but you can see there's 3 opportunities to add photos. Yep. This was a use case that came from one of our partners, just like you, who said, I sell to towing companies. Towing companies would like to be able to take a picture of the car on the tow truck and attach it to the e-invoice so that if there's ever a chargeback issue, they can show that the car is actually on the tow truck and have it be synced with the transaction and the ability to call it from the portal if there's a chargeback. And that feature is available, and that's available live today in the mobile app. And then if you use the Rocket, again, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this Rocket, but this is a Bluetooth device. It's about the size of a deck of playing cards. This Bluetooths to our mobile app and allows you to do card present transactions because you can dip, tap, or swipe on here. And while that looks like a tiny calculator, these buttons and keypad are on here are so that you could do PIN debit and EBT. And I believe we have the only Bluetooth dongle that can connect to a mobile app and do EBT.
Hey, Gene, the terminal you were just showing us, how comparable is that to the old point terminal that everyone loved that point terminal, and we've been waiting for something that's comparable to that, and I don't know why the market hasn't reacted quicker because everyone seemed to love that thing. So how comparable would this be to a point solution?
Unfortunately, I don't know what the feature set of the point is to be able to tell you feature for feature. Form factor, it's extremely similar.
Yeah.
People who are looking for a terminal in this form factor, like you said, have been waiting, and we're hoping to be able to fulfill that demand with this terminal. There's also, I believe, a Clover device that is similarly form factored, and we are, I think, about 2/3 of the cost of that device. So if you're looking for a solution that's less expensive and you're selling Clover, this will fulfill that. And unlike Clover, that's probably raised their prices, 4 times in the last year, we haven't raised our prices at all in the last 4 years. So it's just a different model, I guess.
Is this one LTE capable then, too, Gene?
When you say LTE, you mean capable of accepting a SIM card?
Yes.
Yes. So one other thing to keep in mind is that all of our terminals have Wi-Fi as base connectivity because cloud is critically important to its functionality. The terminals that are countertop terminals are Wi-Fi and corded, so you can plug an Ethernet cable into them. All of our portable terminals are Wi-Fi and SIM card. And then some of the terminals that are Wi-Fi SIM card, if you're using a connector base like this one, this actually will accept Ethernet. So it's Tricom in that you can use a cord, Wi-Fi, or a SIM card. And there's a little port right here on the back that pops open to put the SIM card in.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have a question for you, Mr. Gene.
Sure.
Okay, everybody, I have a high volume taco shop. I have the Valor, the VL, and with the pin pad, the V3P3. Okay, the V300.
Okay.
The issue that I have is just literally, buddy, like maybe every 3 months, 6 months, the pin pad give me the tamper device message. And I end up sending it to the company and all of the above. And the merchant, like I say, is high volume. And he's always asking me, say, hey, we like it, Do you have anything more robust than this or any other ideas about it? Because it just become, it just all, because they have 4 locations. And either it's in one or the other one, but it's a continuous thing.
So what you're telling me is that you have a particular use case where it's a high volume, lot of transaction platform, and for whatever reason the pin pads are failing on a fairly regular basis due to the excessive use. Is this business a place where the keypad, where the people have like either like, I wouldn't say dirty, but I mean, is it a case where the conditions are detrimental to the terminal, high moisture, or like a car painting facility or a restaurant where there's a lot of grease? Is there, in other words, what I'm trying to ask you, and I should probably just simply ask you instead of speculate, but do you know why they're failing so regularly? Is there something about that particular environment that's not conducive to the terminal?
Well, tech support tell me the same thing that you're mentioning. It's moist around and things like that.
But is it though? I mean, that's what they're asking the same question I have. What do you have the answer? I guess is what I'm asking.
I don't think it is, Gene. I don't think it is. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say they are babying it, the pin pad, because it's, like I said, it's busy.
Yeah, so let me try to jump to a conclusion here for you. So the particularly the 300 series, which is Linux based and not Android based, the Linux terminals, their sole purpose in life is to grind out transactions all day long and nothing else. Unlike an Android terminal, which has applications and inventory and POS, it's running an Android application with a payment application sitting on top of it. I could understand where there might be the risk of a failure point because you're loading multiple programs. But these Linux terminals are built like tanks. They just grind out transactions all day long. I have not heard of this problem before. So I'm going to presume that there's something unique to this particular business that is anti-terminal friendly. And I might recommend, and I'm going to take the diplomatic path of least resistance in my answer and say that on Amazon, if you look up our terminal or the form factor of the terminal that matches this one, and the VL300 is made by Castles. Castles makes this terminal for a couple of different competitors of ours. Although our internal is different and the technology is different, the form factor is physically the same. And if you find on Amazon, they have some rubberized sleeves that you can slide the terminal over inside that might protect the gaps around the buttons. It might protect the screen. It's a relatively inexpensive thing you could try maybe in one location and see if it extends the life of the pin pad. It's the only thing I can think of Other than
like that.
saying you're in an environment where the pin
Yeah,
pads are just getting beat up,
yeah,
move it to a cooler place, a less dirty place, or whatever place. Beyond that, the sleeve's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. We don't offer a ruggedized device, which is ultimately what you're asking for. So the
yeah,
sleeve
yeah,
might help.
yeah. I like that answer. Thank you very much, buddy. I
Sure.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I saw a question come in also earlier through chat, if you don't mind. There is not a kitchen printer currently available on the VP 800. Um, Again, this is meant to be light POS, light inventory for a food truck or farmer's market or a business that's looking for itemized receipts. It's not meant to replace a full-blown POS. Consider it the gateway drug to a full-blown POS where somebody can dip their toe in for free and try it before they make a larger investment. And you go in and sell them and say, well, how'd that work for you? And they might say, well, I loved it, but I need a kitchen printer. And then you say, well, that's great. Now that you understand how light POS and light inventory works, let me offer you this POS solution that's going to give you what you need above and beyond what you got for free. The next accessory that's going to be available on the VP800 light POS, light inventory platform beyond a cash drawer will be a Bluetooth scanner where you'll be able to scan a barcode to be able to put items in for the itemized receipts, etc. I don't know that we're going to be looking at a back kitchen printer anytime soon. It requires far more connectivity, extra failure points, etc.
I would say just anything and everything that you've showed to us today is obviously checking a lot of boxes here, generated a lot of interest because I noticed at the moment that you shared your screen, Gene, that's when all the questions started to come in here.
Sure.
Justin Farnsworth, it looks like you came off mute. Did you have another question, friend?
Yes. On that customer facing screen, so like in a restaurant world or like in a food truck world, can I tip on the customer facing screen?
Absolutely. In
Okay,
fact, if you
perfect.
want, let me grab one of my canceled credit cards here, and let me just take you through a simple transaction. I'm going to go ahead and hit the shopping cart button. You can see there's some items in here. Let's just go ahead and close that out for the sake of closing it. You can see on my side, you can see um, the transactions completed. They're going to pay by card, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the card button. Okay, and you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and tap my card on this side of the screen. Transaction is going to continue. It's now asking me to tip. I've got smart tipping turned on. Now, you as the merchant have the ability to go into the portal and change these percentages, and they'll change, very easily. I can sign my name. I can choose my tip. I can go ahead and press OK. I realize that it's moving around. I apologize. I'm trying to tap the screens and keep it on the camera at the same time while I'm looking at it. Now I'm presented with the option of what kind of receipt do I want? And this is where, again, the merchant has the ability to turn on or off these different items based on what they want to do. So that they can force text receipts if they don't want to do printed receipts, for example. I'm going to just flip this around and put my mobile number in here real quick just to do this quickly.
Well, perfect. I've got a food truck. I'll give you a shot for it.
And then I'm going to hit the SMS receipt. The next step is it asks how I like my experience today. And this is part of the Engage My Customer module that allows you to choose very quickly how you liked your service so that the merchant's getting feedback on whether they're doing a good job or not. And then the transaction's complete and they're done. If you'll indulge me, let me very quickly here. Let me switch my camera from my actual camera. Let me turn that off and share my screen real quick. Scott, do I have the ability to share my screen?
I gave you co-hosting capabilities. There you go. Perfect.
Okay,
Yep.
so now if you look at my screen, you can see up here at the top, because it's cloud-based, everything syncs in real time. You can see this transaction was just completed on the VP800. You can see the device here, virtual terminal underneath, the amount, the tip, the tax, the differential. And over here, when I click on the vertical ellipsis to view the receipt, you can see right down here, here is the transaction. You can see that there was a Mountain Dew and a ham sandwich on here, and the total tax tip discount. Cash discount was 0 because they paid with a card. And then you can see the signature down here at the bottom. And this all happens in real time because of the way the system, again, being in the cloud, the way it's designed. We keep these transactions in the cloud for at least 2 years, long enough for any possible chargeback, income tax, business receipt, whatever need a customer might need a copy of their receipt. 2 years is more than enough time to cover any normal use case.
Gene, I'm actually very glad that you decided to share your screen because this goes back to something that you shared at the very beginning of the call. Conversations that our sales agents can have with their merchants as far as finding a solution that can grow with their business. I mean, looking at your screen, we're taking a look at the transactions, the virtual terminal capabilities are there as well. I mean, this is a pretty robust solution that can grow with a business. Start with the terminal, work your way up depending on what your needs are.
Right, absolutely. And then I just quickly went to the virtual terminal. You can see that the line items and enable L2 and L3 are checked by default because I have the account set that way. Obviously, your back office can set the account how they want to. If you're using TSYS, and this only works today on TSYS, we automatically auto pop L2 and L3. So your merchant's going to automatically get interchange optimization as a default using the virtual terminal on TSYS with L2 and L3. If I turn it off, then I have the ability to add, you can see the items here, just like you saw on my terminal, you can see the items here that I can build. And that's actually done in the settings under product. And you'll see here, these are all the products. And as a merchant, I can add them here. And when I add them here, they automatically show up in the terminal and they automatically show up in the virtual terminal because everything's connected to the cloud. I can also in here, by the way, just very simply, I could do sales, I can do recurring, I can do refunds, e-invoicing, I could do QR codes. Say I'm doing a raffle and I'm doing a $50 raffle ticket and I want people to be able to, you know, do their raffle ticket here. I can do that, process the payment. It's going to generate a code. I can put that code on a placard. I can put it in social media, wherever I want to. Customers can scan that QR code. It'll take them to a hosted payment page and they can make their credit card payment that way. So there's just a ton of features. It's hard to know when you go into a business what they need, but knowing that the Valor ecosystem offers all of these different kinds of things means that there's no reason that you can't leave with a yes almost every time because you've satisfied whatever that merchant's needs are and then given them the opportunity to think ahead and outside of the box on what their future needs are and know that Valor will be able to take care of them as they grow as well.
Gene, very quickly, since we've mentioned it a couple of times, just to kind of go back to like that, you know, where you refer to it as like the light POS, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
Well, as far as a number goes, what would you say is a good number of inventory items that Valor can handle in that type of environment?
So there's a theoretical answer and there's a practical answer.
Let's
The
get both.
theoretical answer is 20,000. The
Okay.
practical answer is that you're not going to have a liquor store with 20,000 SKUs scrolling through this screen looking for 20,000 different items. But you'll notice here at the top, if you can, you'll see that I've got some categories here. There's a brunch, lunch, or breakfast, drinks. I don't know if you can see that up there or not. If I go to my settings and I go to my products, you'll see under category here, you'll see drinks, breakfast, etc. If I want to set up subcategories, so I have like say 6 subcategories across the top, and I'm willing to scroll through 10 or 12 items, you're looking at 60, 70, 80 items is probably the practical limit. Again, food truck, farmer's market, towing service, a nail salon, someplace that's looking for an itemized receipt but doesn't have a huge list of inventory, that's going to be the sweet spot for this particular feature. You could load 5,000 SKUs, but who's going to want to search for 5,000 on that terminal?
Right. Keep it simple. Best example that you gave was a food truck. Safe to assume that we're also not talking about setting this up as a light POS with modifiers, meaning hold the cheese, hold the pickles, add extra onions. It's just pretty much straightforward retail opportunities, correct?
Well, we do have modifiers. I just brought that up on the screen as
Okay.
you mentioned it. So modifiers right now are only available in the virtual terminal. Modifiers will become available in the physical terminals. I'm going to say in the next couple of months. It may be sooner than that, but it'll be available as well. But again, keep in mind, light POS, light inventory, minimal modifiers. You really, really, really want to undersell this into businesses that are just dipping their toe in, because anybody above that is just going to get frustrated and aggravated. And I would rather you undersell it and have them be pleasantly surprised at what it can do than oversell it and have them be upset and then potentially lose that business as a long-term customer over it.
KISS. Keep it simple, seller. You see that? Look at that. Got a couple more questions that did pop up in the chat, Gene, if you don't mind. We'll get those in front of you real quick.
Of course.
Question popped up. Does this work with EEE Auto Body Shop POS?
Short answer is no.
Okay, there we go. That was
Longer answer is if that's something you need and it's an opportunity that you will help you go get more business, push that up through your management structure, have somebody introduce us to EEE Auto Body POS software, let us work with them to get the integration complete. You are the customer for both of us. So if you want it, we will do it because you've asked for it, and they will do it because you've asked for it, and that'll make us work together to make it happen for you.
Thank you, Gene. Another question that popped up, just to kind of reiterate, the question is being asked, can this work with a barcode scanner? I believe you said barcode coming soon, correct, Gene?
Correct. Barcode and QR code both coming soon.
Excellent. All right. Agents, got about 5 minutes left. You've got Gene on the call with you. If ever there was a good time to ask questions, it's going to be now. So do yourself a favor. If you have questions, you can come off mute, or if you would like, you can throw them in the chat. Evan, I see you came off mute. What have you got, my man? Talk to us.
Yeah, so I see that modifiers are coming soon. For that food truck scenario, could they build the cart and then print off an order ticket on the device to pass down to the line cook, or is that not an intended case use?
Well, I guess the short answer is that you could use it that way. You have the ability to print a merchant receipt and a customer receipt when the transaction is complete. So you could print two copies, give the customer theirs, and give the cook the merchant copy, or however you wanted to set it up. So you could use it that way. But again, there is no kitchen printer. It's not intended to specifically be used as a kitchen printer, but you certainly could. So another thing to keep in mind is that when you've got this box of Legos with all these features, it's really going to be limited to your own creativity, how you solve a particular merchant's problem, for lack of a better word. So while there isn't a kitchen printer, you could, in that case, print two receipts and use it in that use case.
Thanks.
Sure, no problem.
All right. Thank you, Evan.
I should also mention before I forget, for those of you that travel or go to the regional AA shows, NEAA, SEAA, MWAA, or WSAA, these are the four regional shows that are agent facing, that you can see a lot of the products and things that are out there. If you happen to be in one of the areas, or you go to those shows with any regularity, we're at all of them. We're sponsoring at all of them. We have a booth at all of them. We're also at RSPA, some industry shows. We're probably at least a dozen shows a year. So if you see a booth and you see us, by all means, come in and ask questions, look at the latest hardware, give us your worst sales loss story, and let us see if we can't figure out a way to get you to win it. But we're out there also. So please feel free to, when you see us, find us and ask us in person. We're happy to help however we can.
Since you gave the plug for all of those shows coming up next week, we've got NEAA. Safe to assume Valor is going to be there next week, correct?
Absolutely. We'll be sponsoring, and we'll be there.
All right. So for those of you that may be in the area, it's going to be in Atlantic City, New Jersey. You got nothing going on? Come on down. We'd love to see you at NEAA next week. That's going to be happening from next week on Monday the 17th, and it's going to be ending on Thursday the 20th. Greater Atlantic City, New Jersey area. Come on down. We'd love to see you there. Valor is going to be there as well. Couple minutes left. What other questions do we have? Come off mute. Let's get him in front of Gene while he's on the call with us. Once. Twice.
Three
Gene,
times a lady.
3 times a late. Don't make me break out into Kenny Rogers. I'll start singing right now. I think we've pretty much got everything. So for the most part, to all of you, we love seeing you on these calls. We love doing Toolbox Tuesday. We love dropping knowledge on you. But today, oh my gosh, what a fantastic session we had. Gene Shenberg from Valor. Thank you so much for making the time to join us here today. Gene, you dropped a lot of good stuff on us. Not only did you talk about Valor, you talked about how all of our sales agents can position Valor. So, Gene, thank you so much for your time today, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to take an hour of your day to hopefully share some useful information.
We do.